She loved him like no one else, until she found out his love was a lie and her revenge would destroy his empire.
A millionaire's perfect romance was built on deceit, but his fake girlfriend's revenge will shatter his world forever. When love turns into betrayal, one woman proves that heartbreak can be the most powerful weapon of all. He used her heart for power. Now she'll use his secrets for revenge. The truth will cost him everything. The story begins in the glittering city of Los Angeles, where wealth, beauty, and deceit often walked hand in hand. The night air shimmered with luxury as limousines lined up outside the Montrose Hotel, one of the city's most exclusive venues. Inside, chandeliers sparkled like captured stars, laughter echoed off marble floors, and champagne glasses clinked under the golden glow of success. Among the crowd was a man whose presence commanded every eye in the room, Ethan Kross. At only 35, Ethan was the kind of man who made headlines without trying. A self-made millionaire with a reputation for ruthless deals and charming words, he was the embodiment of power wrapped in a tailored suit. But what no one knew was that tonight, among the hundreds of admirers, a woman had entered his world with one mission: to destroy him. Her name was Olivia Carter. Olivia didn't belong in that world of excess and ego, at least not by birth. She was the daughter of a middle-class family from Seattle, bright, ambitious, and determined to make her mark in the world of marketing. A few years earlier, she'd moved to Los Angeles chasing a dream and found herself working at a small PR firm that handled luxury clients. That's where she first heard Ethan Kross's name, spoken in whispers, often followed by stories of betrayal, broken partnerships, and ruined reputations. He was the kind of man people admired publicly but feared privately. When Olivia's firm landed a small contract with one of Ethan's companies, her life took a turn she never saw coming. The first time they met, Ethan was everything the rumors promised: charming, confident, and dangerously magnetic. He had the kind of smile that could make people forget their better judgment. Olivia had gone to his office to present a campaign proposal, nervous but composed. He listened carefully, his piercing gray eyes fixed on her every word. When she finished, he smiled, leaned back in his leather chair, and said, "You're not like the others." It was a simple sentence, but it changed everything. Within weeks, he began calling her directly for meetings, asking for her opinions, inviting her to business events. Soon, the lines between professional and personal blurred. Ethan was intoxicating, his confidence, his wealth, his world. Olivia fell for him, or at least she thought she did. But love wasn't the whole story. Because behind that charming smile, Ethan was hiding secrets. Secrets that would turn Olivia's world upside down. It started small. A missed call here, a strange message there, an unexplained trip. Then came the night she saw him at a restaurant with another woman, an actress whose name lit up every magazine cover. He told Olivia it was just business, but deep down, she knew. Still, she stayed, because by then, she wasn't just in love, she was in. Her career was tied to his company, her reputation was linked to his name, and her heart, well, it was no longer hers. Everything changed when Olivia discovered the file. One rainy afternoon, Ethan had asked her to grab a document from his laptop. As she searched through his folders, a name caught her eye: Project Aurora. She hesitated, curiosity winning over reason. When she opened it, she froze. Inside were detailed records of financial transfers, hidden accounts, and falsified invoices. Proof that Ethan was laundering money through multiple shell companies.
But it wasn't just the illegal activities that broke her. It was the realization that her name, her company, and even her work had been used to make it happen. He had set her up as an unknowing accomplice in his crimes. Her entire career, everything she had worked for, was now a tool in his empire of lies.
Olivia felt sick, betrayed, and trapped. For days, she couldn't eat or sleep. When she confronted Ethan, he didn't even deny it. He simply looked at her with that same cold confidence and said, "You're smart, Olivia. You should know by now that in this world, everyone plays their part." She remembered the way his tone carried no remorse, no shame. It was in that moment she realized she was nothing more than another piece on his board, a pawn in his game of power. That night, Olivia made a decision that would change everything. She wouldn't cry. She wouldn't beg. She would destroy him. But revenge, she learned quickly, wasn't easy when the enemy was a man like Ethan Cross. He was untouchable, surrounded by lawyers, loyal employees, and media connections that could spin any scandal into a success story. If she went to the police, she'd go down with him. Her signature was on documents she didn't even remember approving. If she exposed him to the press, he'd use his influence to ruin her reputation before the story hit the headlines. So Olivia chose another path. She would play his game. For the next 6 months, she became everything Ethan wanted her to be. The perfect girlfriend, the loyal confidant, the woman who adored him unconditionally. She smiled at parties, whispered compliments at business dinners, and stood by his side while he charmed the cameras. But behind that smile, Olivia was gathering everything she needed: evidence, connections, and allies. She used her access to his schedule, his emails, and his private meetings to piece together the truth. Her first ally came unexpectedly. Daniel Reeves, a quiet, reserved financial analyst at Ethan's company, had once been Ethan's most trusted employee, until Ethan sabotaged him to cover a failed deal. Daniel had lost everything: his job, his reputation, his family. When Olivia approached him with what she had discovered, he hesitated at first. "You're playing a dangerous game," he warned her. But when she showed him the documents from Project Aurora, his expression changed. "You're not the first person he's done this to," he said, "but maybe you'll be the last." Together, they began crafting a plan. Daniel helped Olivia trace the money trails, linking Ethan's offshore accounts to fraudulent transactions. They worked in secret, meeting late at night in quiet cafes and abandoned parking lots. Every step they took had to be calculated. Ethan's security team monitored everything and everyone around him. One mistake could expose them both. Meanwhile, Olivia perfected her act. She played the part of the loving girlfriend so convincingly that even Ethan's closest friends envied their relationship. He took her on private jets, gifted her diamonds, and whispered promises of forever. To the world, they were the picture of power and passion. But behind closed doors, Olivia's heart was made of steel. Every word she spoke was another move in her strategy. Every kiss, another piece of the puzzle falling into place. Her plan reached a turning point during one of Ethan's lavish charity galas. The event was held in his name, a night meant to celebrate his supposed generosity. Celebrities, politicians, and media executives filled the ballroom. Ethan stood at the center, charming everyone with his usual charisma. Olivia, in a crimson gown that shimmered under the lights, smiled beside him, her eyes betraying nothing. What no one knew was that hidden beneath her clutch was a small flash drive containing months of evidence, emails, transactions, and recordings. She had arranged for the files to be sent anonymously to several investigative journalists the next morning. The clock was ticking, and by sunrise, Ethan's empire would begin to crumble. But something unexpected happened that night, something Olivia hadn't planned for. As Ethan raised his glass for a toast, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it briefly, then his eyes darkened. He excused himself, stepping away from the crowd. Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. He knew. Somehow, he knew. She followed him discreetly into one of the side halls, her heels silent on the marble floor. When she turned the corner, she froze. Ethan was standing by the window, holding his phone, his expression unreadable. "You've been busy, Olivia," he said quietly without turning around. Her heart stopped. He turned to face her, his usual smirk replaced by something colder. "You really thought I wouldn't find out? You think you're smarter than me?" Olivia tried to stay calm. "You used me, Ethan. You ruined lives. You made me part of your crimes." He stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. "I made you, Olivia. Without me, you're nothing. You'd still be working in some small-time PR firm if I hadn't given you a chance. Don't bite the hand that feeds you." For a moment, she felt fear clawing at her chest. But then, something inside her snapped. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "You didn't make me. You just showed me how monsters are made." Ethan's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, his phone buzzed again. He glanced down, and his face paled. The first article had just gone live. Millionaire Ethan Cross under federal investigation for financial fraud. His eyes darted back to Olivia, fury burning behind them. "What did you do?" he growled. Olivia stepped back, her voice steady. "I told the truth." Within hours, chaos erupted. News outlets swarmed his company. Federal agents launched raids on his offices. Investors pulled out, and his board members turned on him. The empire Ethan had built on lies began to crumble faster than anyone could have imagined. But the storm was only beginning, and Olivia knew the real test was yet to come. The news broke like wildfire. Within hours of the first article going live, every major network was covering the scandal. Millionaire Ethan Cross under federal investigation was plastered across every headline, every social feed, every television screen. The mighty billionaire who once controlled entire markets with a phone call was now being dragged through the mud by the very media outlets that once worshipped him. Olivia sat quietly in her apartment, her laptop open, the live coverage illuminating her face in the dark. She had waited months for this moment, the moment Ethan's empire finally cracked. And now that it was happening, she felt nothing. No joy, no relief, just silence. Maybe revenge wasn't as satisfying as she had imagined, or maybe it was just the calm before the storm. Because Ethan Cross wasn't the kind of man to fall quietly. 2 days later, Ethan's lawyers held a press conference denying every allegation. They claimed the reports were fabricated by disgruntled former employees and hinted that a jealous ex-girlfriend was behind it. Olivia's stomach dropped when she heard that phrase. He was turning the narrative. She had expected pushback, but not this fast. Within hours, tabloids began running stories about Ethan's manipulative ex who had planted fake evidence out of Heartbreak. It was all lies, but in the world Ethan ruled, perception was reality, and he was a master manipulator. Olivia tried to ignore the noise. She knew the truth was on her side. The files had been verified by journalists, and the investigation was real. But the pressure was mounting. Reporters began camping outside her building. She received threatening messages.
Anonymous calls warned her to keep quiet before it's too late. It wasn't hard to guess who was behind them.
Ethan might have been cornered, but he still had resources, lawyers, connections, and enough money to buy silence. Daniel called her that night. His voice was tense. "He's not going down without a fight," he said. "We hit him hard, but he's trying to buy his way out. We need to finish this." "How?" Olivia asked, exhausted. "There's more," Daniel replied. "A second account offshore, hidden deeper. If we can trace it, it'll tie him directly to the fraud. The investigators missed it, but I think I can find it. We just need access to one more server." Olivia hesitated. "That means breaking into his system again. He'll know." Daniel's tone was firm. "He already knows, Olivia, but if we stop now, he wins." So she agreed. 2 nights later, they met in an underground parking garage, the same place they'd used for their secret meetings. Daniel set up his laptop on the hood of his car, the glow from the screen illuminating his anxious face. Olivia stood beside him, her heart pounding. They hacked into Ethan's encrypted financial system, navigating layer after layer of security. Every click felt like a step closer to danger. And then, success. They found it. A hidden account linked to offshore holdings worth millions, all under fake identities tied to Ethan's private network. Proof that he had orchestrated the fraud himself. But before they could secure the data, an alert flashed on the screen. "Access detected." "Oh no," Daniel muttered. "He's tracking us." Within seconds, the connection cut off. They grabbed the laptop and left, hearts racing. Olivia's hands trembled as she drove away. She knew Ethan would retaliate, but she didn't expect how fast. The next morning, Olivia woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. Her company had terminated her contract. Her landlord had given her a notice to vacate. Her credit cards were frozen. In less than 12 hours, Ethan had used his power to erase her from the system. Every connection she had was gone. She wasn't just fighting for revenge anymore. She was fighting for survival. She met Daniel again, this time in a small diner on the edge of the city. He looked tired, almost defeated. "He's got people everywhere," he said quietly. "He bribed someone at the bank to wipe the trace we found. We need to go public again." Olivia nodded slowly. "Then we do it ourselves. I'll face him head on." That night, Olivia recorded a video, raw, emotional, and fearless. Sitting in front of a camera, she spoke directly to the public. "My name is Olivia Carter. I was Ethan Cross's girlfriend for nearly a year. I believed in him, I trusted him, and I found out that he was using me and countless others to cover up financial crimes that destroyed lives. He wants to silence me, but I won't stay silent." The video went viral within hours. Millions watched it, flooding social media with outrage. Hashtags trended worldwide. Hashtag Justice for Olivia and hashtag Expose Ethan Cross. Public opinion shifted. The same media that once doubted her now praised her courage. For the first time, the world saw Ethan for what he truly was, a predator hiding behind wealth. But Ethan wasn't done. He showed up at her apartment one night. It was past midnight when Olivia heard the knock. The air felt heavy, her instinct screaming not to open the door. But curiosity won. When she cracked it open, there he was, Ethan in a black suit, eyes burning with fury. "We need to talk," he said flatly. Olivia froze. "You shouldn't be here." He pushed the door open and stepped inside. "You think you've won? You think this little stunt will change anything?" He moved closer, his voice calm but venomous. "The world forgets. Scandals fade. People move on. But me? I rebuild.
I always rebuild. Olivia stared at him, unafraid. Not this time. Ethan's jaw tightened. You were nothing until I made you someone. I gave you everything: power, status, luxury, and you threw it away for what? Revenge? You didn't give me anything, she said, her voice trembling but resolute. You took everything that mattered. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then Ethan laughed softly. You think you're the hero here? No, Olivia, you're just another broken toy. And that was his last mistake. From the hallway, 2 federal agents stepped forward. Ethan Cross, you're under arrest, one of them said, pulling out a badge. Ethan turned, shocked. Olivia's phone, placed on the counter, was still recording and broadcasting live. The conversation had gone viral in real time. Millions of people were watching as the man who had mocked the law was finally taken away in handcuffs. As they let him out, Ethan looked back at Olivia one last time, his expression unreadable. You'll regret this, he said quietly. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The next few months were a blur. Ethan's trial became one of the most publicized cases in the country. The evidence Olivia and Daniel had gathered was irrefutable. Dozens of victims testified against him, former employees, investors, and partners he had betrayed. When the verdict was read, guilty on all counts, the courtroom erupted in applause. Ethan Cross, the untouchable millionaire, was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Outside the courthouse, Olivia stood silently as cameras flashed around her. A reporter asked, "Do you have any final words for Ethan Cross?" She paused, then said simply, "He taught me that love can blind you, but truth will always set you free." Olivia stared at him, unafraid. Not this time. Ethan's jaw tightened. You were nothing until I made you someone. I gave you everything: power, status, luxury, and you threw it away for what? Revenge? You didn't give me anything, she said, her voice trembling but resolute. You took everything that mattered. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then Ethan laughed softly. You think you're the hero here? No, Olivia, you're just another broken toy. And that was his last mistake. From the hallway, 2 federal agents stepped forward. Ethan Cross, you're under arrest, one of them said, pulling out a badge. Ethan turned, shocked. Olivia's phone, placed on the counter, was still recording and broadcasting live. The conversation had gone viral in real time. Millions of people were watching as the man who had mocked the law was finally taken away in handcuffs. As they let him out, Ethan looked back at Olivia one last time, his expression unreadable. You'll regret this, he said quietly. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The next few months were a blur. Ethan's trial became one of the most publicized cases in the country. The evidence Olivia and Daniel had gathered was irrefutable. Dozens of victims testified against him, former employees, investors, and partners he had betrayed. When the verdict was read, guilty on all counts, the courtroom erupted in applause. Ethan Cross, the untouchable millionaire, was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Outside the courthouse, Olivia stood silently as cameras flashed around her. A reporter asked, "Do you have any final words for Ethan Cross?" She paused, then said simply, "He taught me that love can blind you, but truth will always set you free." As the night grew darker, Olivia took one last look at the horizon. The woman who had once been lost in love and betrayal was gone. In her place stood someone unbreakable, someone reborn from the ashes of deceit. The story of Ethan Cross and Olivia Carter had become more than just a scandal. It had become a legend, a tale whispered wherever power met manipulation, love met betrayal, and truth demanded to be heard. And though Ethan's empire lay in ruins, the lesson remained clear. Money can buy almost anything except the loyalty of the heart you break. Olivia turned away from the city lights, closing her office door behind her. For the first time in a long while, she felt free. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping tales of love, betrayal, and revenge. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories to life, stories that remind us that even in the darkest moments, truth and justice always find their way.